I'm going to go ahead and take the roll call. Anna Marie Knorr, present. Dr. Miller?
Present.
Ms. Anderson?
Present.
Mr. Judd?
Present.
Mrs. Cotray?
Present.
Great, thank you. And now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are now on item D, adoption of the agenda. Do I have any motions or changes?
President Knorr, I would like to remove item 6C from the consent and put that at the top of the discussion.
Okay. 6C. Any other changes or motions?
If there's no other changes, I motion that we adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are now at item 2, call to the public. And members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431, 01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. And please state your name and address for the record. And first, we have Roger Wagner and Ivan Poor.
Hi, Roger Wagner. I'm a Maricopa resident. Did I do it right this time? Okay, all right. President, our governing members, Dr. Logan, we wanted to say thank you. We had the Music-a-thon on Saturday, May 12th. We had an absolutely tremendous event, and we saw a lot of smiling faces there, which was really awesome to see. A little over 200 choir students, about 240 band students, and about 100 orchestra students, and a couple thousand people throughout the course of the day. So it was a really tremendous event. Really fantastic turnout and a lot of positive feedback. We kind of measured our success in it being the first time that we did a press release, but we also had press show up and take pictures and do other things. And so, we're looking at it going, hey, okay, we've got on, got to be on the radar there. But wanted to say thank you for your tremendous support for that as, we continue to build what MUSD music is and what we're doing. To see an event like that where 4 years ago when we started, we were about 3 to 4 hours of music and 200 students, to see it grow to about 7 hours of music and over 500 students. We're really excited about that. Anything you want to add?
No, for my part, just thank you for your support, and thank you to the public and the community for their support of Music-a-thon and of our programs. Not all high school, middle school, public school music programs have the kind of turnout and support at this kind of an event at concerts. I've seen a lot of empty concert halls. It's kind of sad at some places, but you see a lot of empty concert halls and bands giving performances to empty halls, and it's great that when we have concerts, we have people in our community who are enthusiastic about being there. We have government members, superintendent enthusiastic about being there and supporting our programs, and we are really grateful and blessed with the support that we have both from the board, from our administration, from our school district, and from our community.
And to add to Mr. Port's comments, thank you for the support too going forward as we expand the program and add another staff member. We're really, really excited about that.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Next up, we have Christine Dickinson.
Does that?
Oh, come on.
Good evening, President Knorr, members of the board, Dr. Lotman. I'm 43673 West McClellan Court in the Villages. I came tonight as the MEA secretary for this past year, and I came to thank you all, along with cabinet, for working really hard this year to make sure that the increased funding from the governor's proposal is going to our staff as a whole and not just one group. It allows us to hire our base salary, and in turn will allow us to attract more staff members, and it keeps us united as well. We're not pinned against one another with different staff groups, and I think that that's very powerful. I really liked hearing that it is also going towards our admin and our support staff. We know that we are trying to build a support within our system to get qualified administrators from our grassroots here. And in order to retain highly qualified staff and grow them into powerful leaders and administrators, we need to retain them. So I think that that 5% will help. And I appreciate you thinking of all staff members and not just one, so that we can continue to be united. So thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody coming to the table and hashing it all out and being very transparent in that process. So thank you all. Enjoy your summer.
Thank you so much, Christine. Okay, that's all we have for Call of the Public. We will now move on to item 3, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President Knorr. We have successfully ended the 2017-18 school year, which means we can officially celebrate all the graduates from preschool, kinder, 5th grade, 8th grade, and high school. While I was unable to attend the high school graduation, I did attend 2 events at the high school, the Miss Cass Cabaret and the Senior Honors Night, and they were wonderful events in addition to the music-a-thon. Those were wonderful events, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen smarter or more talented kids in my life until next year, I'm sure. We continue to grow Maricopa Unified's teacher ranks with high-quality professional development. Teachers have been here at the district office engaged in solution tree mentor training and ELA curriculum development. We're looking forward to the outcomes of these programs we're designed to see in our classrooms next year. So please stay tuned for these results and other programs throughout the year. The greatest opportunity our district will face in the near future is the explosive growth of Maricopa and the impact to student enrollment and the needs for facilities. In the coming weeks, Mr. Roush will offer a report on our short-term plans to accommodate students at specific sites. Then, for long-term projections, we will make recommendations to you, our board, based on the sound advice and reliable data from experts. To this end, we will engage the Facility Management Group to assist in developing those recommendations for facility planning to accommodate the increased enrollment in Maricopa Unified over the next 10 years. So be on the lookout for that report from Mr. Roush and continued engagement of other experts. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We look forward to that. Lots of exciting things happening in MUSD. Okay, we move on to item 4, the governing board member reports. And before we start with Mrs. Cotray, I do want to recognize Councilman Henry Wade, who's in the audience, and we appreciate you being here. So, Mrs. Cotray, your report.
Thank you, President Knorr. Well, our last 2 weeks of May were extremely busy. I set a goal for myself to go to at least one event to every school site, which I am proud for myself, pat on my back, that I was able to accomplish that. It's been a while since I've been able to do all the events. And one of my last events was going to the 5th grade promotion at Santa Cruz Elementary, and the principal was so excited to see a board member there. It was nice, and it was a nice promotion ceremony. Probably one of the funnest activities that I did, besides going to the music-a-thon, which I try to go to every year, was the Butterfield Water Day, where I was actually given a hose to have a fire from the firefighter, and I had a water fight with the other firefighters. So I did go there with the intention of not getting wet, and I walked out soaking wet. But it was a lot of fun. Graduation, for myself was a little emotional having my son graduate. And it's one of the perks that I love so much, to celebrating all of our students and our staff accomplishments. And, to watch my son cross the stage and give him his diploma was one of the reasons why I think I will continue to be a board member. So thank you, and I'm looking forward. We've got the next week, we've got our Summer Leadership Institute in Flagstaff. I'm going to be going up to Flagstaff a lot now because my son's going to be going to NAU, so I'm going to get that route done quick. So I'm excited for that. I know Mr. Judd's going to be joining us. It's always fun to have him there because this is probably the only conference he can go to. So with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cotray. Mr. Judd?
Yes, as Patty mentioned, it is, as a teacher, it's difficult for me to get out to a lot of these events during the week, but I was able to attend Pima Butte's talent show, which I love. They have a student MC. For those of you that know Pima Butte and know Ms. Graham, that used to be Ms. Graham's job to be the MC, and she would always tell these great one-liners in between acts. Well, a student has taken over for her on that role, and he did a great job. So it was a pleasure to attend that. Also, the high school graduation ceremony, which was exceptionally well run this year and very well organized. And I just wanted to say thank you to those that were involved in organizing that. It's a great event. Everyone is usually focused on their son or daughter graduating that day, and we forget how much planning that goes into an event of that size. So just wanted to say thank you for those individuals that are involved in that. Also, as Patty mentioned, next week, the 7th through the 9th, we'll be up in Flagstaff for ASBA Summer Leadership Conference. So looking forward to that. It's always nice to get up there and have discussions with other board members across the state. Usually walk away from that conference with a good bit of information. Other than that, that's all that I have to report. Looking forward to the summer. And I also want to thank Dr. Lopman, and we're looking forward to having you just as our own now. So we're excited about that.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Mrs. Anderson?
Okay, so Maricopa Elementary had their leadership day, and you know, they're a lighthouse school. And it was amazing. The kids lead the whole day. They're kind of almost your mentors. They take you through the school and what they've been doing. So I'm impressed about that school. And the Arizona School Board Association, because I was up there yesterday, they said, you know what, you need to make sure that school applies for a Golden Bell Award, because there's not many schools that are lighthouse schools. So I'm just putting it out there. I think that we should fill that out. It's their Golden Bell Award, and although we received it for our blended learning last year, we are doing some remarkable, curriculum, and just our teachers and our leaders are amazing. So I would like to put in for that as well. They were strongly suggestive. I also was able to attend the high school senior awards, the honor awards night, which is nice. And then the very special night that I look forward to every year is the junior ROTC. And Commander Kirksey does an amazing job with those leaders. But it brings tears to my eyes every year when they bring in the flags and they've got their uniforms on, and to see these students that I've known since before kindergarten now participate in the ROTC is pretty incredible what that program is doing for our youth. The parents were impressed. I had several come up to me and say, we've got to keep this program. It's turned my child around. It's given them focus. So that was probably the highlight of that week. So it's pretty amazing to be included in that. And then, of course, the 10th grade awards at the high school, and the 9th grade awards, and then, of course, middle school unification and high school graduation are always incredible events. And, of course, my son, who's gone to school with Patty's son since kindergarten, so that was a remarkable moment that as parents, that was one of our goals, is to have our kindergartners go through all of the grades and stay in Maricopa. We are completing that goal. And so that was great pride for me, because that is a goal we set 8 years ago, and we're accomplishing it thanks to our amazing teachers, really, and those parents who believe in this district, and those community members who believe in our district. So we're going up and up, and the escalator's not going to stop. So that was very rewarding for me to see a goal that we had set many years ago come to fruition, because a lot of these kids we've known since kindergarten, and it was pretty cool to see that happen. The other thing that I will be doing is Friday, I have the Arizona School Board Association Legislative Committee meeting, so I will be conducting that meeting on Friday. We'll be locked into a room all day. So I will have lots to report after that. But some neat things are coming out of that legislative process as well, because that is really where we're going to make a difference in public education, is through the legislative process. So I look forward to reporting on that. And then I will also be at the Summer Leadership next week in Flagstaff. I will also be attending the board meeting to present on the legislative process. So it does not slow down for us as board members, but it's all fantastic news. And like I said, I enjoy riding the escalator up instead of the escalator down. So it's pretty incredible. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Dr. Miller?
Yes, I can't believe it's summer already. You know, I know I've seen some teachers, they're woohooing and kind of getting out the door, and there's other teachers I've kind of seen maybe like fall asleep on their desk, you know, when it's over, because they're just so tired. So I think that's a good way to engage, you know, how hard the teachers had it this year. But it is definitely great to, you know, see all the great things that we've done in the school year and all of our great accomplishments and things that we've worked through, as well as the district. And also, at the end of the year, there's a lot of activities which, you know, we're all expressing that we've attended, and I think that those, as a board member, are some of the best moments that we can, you know, participate in as a board member, and even as being a board member, to see other board members actually having diplomas to their children, and, you know, those emotional moments, which is, you know, priceless. So it's really great to see that, and those relationship buildings, you know, from what we hear from kindergarten to high school, and really that's what it's about in terms of building our culture and within our community. And so I participated in the ROTC Awards. This is my first year, and it was really great to see how big the program is getting. And so it's a program that I believe that I'm one of my children that I would like to see, and I think it would do a lot of good for him as well, as it has a lot of the other students. And Dr. Lotman and I, we did a walk through the high school. And also we went to the ROTC program, and just seeing all the uniforms that they didn't have before, and their inventory, and just how the kids, the students are engaging in that program is just remarkable. A big difference from last year, really it is. And so it was really good to see the students and Colonel Kersey and everybody participate with that program. Also the high school, I also reiterate the high school graduation was pretty smooth this year. And I believe we had 354 graduates? 56, yes. And also I believe the Ram Academy, I know they're projecting, 24, but they're actually graduating 28. So that's really great to the Ram Academy and the teachers. I did get a chance to tour that right before the high school as well. Also was able to participate in the Butterfield, attend the Butterfield variety show, which was really great to see all the parents and the students and the acts that they had there. So it was really great to, you know, see everybody coming together in celebration this season of the end of the year. So I think that's pretty much all I have to share. I know the summer's coming up, and would like to have a facility tour this year, this summer. So I don't know, I know Board Member Judd and I participated last summer, so if there's a time maybe us board members can participate in the facilities tour at the high school, it'd be really great. So really a lot to see there. It's amazing, especially what's on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Miller. I second, third, and fourth everything that my colleagues said about attending the end of the year celebrations. I got to attend at least five of them, including the graduation, which is always the one that gets you the most. I think watching those kids cross that stage and knowing all of the work that they put into getting there and accomplishing that, even when you don't have a kid, crossing the stage still is moving, honestly, every year to me. So, and again, the staff did an amazing job, well organized and without a hitch, and the kids were super respectful. The speeches from the valedictorian and salutatorian were better than the speeches I hear at the Capitol, honestly, and they were moving. And so I think they should teach speech class to legislators, but we'll work on that. So it really was a great experience, and along with all the elementary school graduations. And I will now finally have a child out of elementary school into middle school. So I'm kind of excited about experiencing all middle school has to offer at Desert Winds, which is where my son will go next year. So looking forward to that new experience. And other than that, I think that's all I have to report. Great. We are now on item 5. Information items, work study. The monthly financial report. Mr. Rush?
President Knorr, members of the board, Dr. Lopman. We have the April financial report, and again, we feature a part of the district, and don't believe it's coming up, but I'll go ahead and just read a little bit about it. Anyway, Butterfield students lended a helping hand with doing some food bank stuff, so that was on our front cover. If you had a chance to read the memo, this is before our budget revision, so some of our balances in April were a little bit lower, but our revision gets them back up a little bit, and so I'm happy to see that. The next report will be a little bit rosier. Always makes business managers feel good. With that, I think business as usual. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Ash? No? Thank you so much for presenting that.
Sorry, you
We're in the
can't,
middle of a meeting.
you can't come up.
You can't, yeah. You can't, you have to wait till after the meeting. Yeah, you can hand them to our staff.
You can't do that.
You can't do it during a meeting.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's a public meeting and we don't have it agenda'd. I'm so sorry. But we are in the middle of a meeting.
This is disruptive, and they know exactly what they're doing.
Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda, item 6.
Don't grab them.
The consent agenda without item C. Do I have a motion or a second?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move on to our action items. And we will start our action items with the consent agenda item 6C, which is approve the 2018-19 service agreement with Smart Schools Plus for educational staffing services.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the person that needs to be here had to step out.
Okay.
We can always come back to that if you want to continue on, but he's like going to be there for the next.
I would say we put that towards the end.
Yeah,
Let's-
yeah.
Until
okay.
Mr. Beckett comes back in.
Yeah.
We will start with, how about 7A?
7A?
7A.
Yeah.
7A, discussion and possible approval of the proposed salary increases for all contracted employees for fiscal year 2018-2019. Dr. Lopman, did you want to, or is that also? Or I can talk to it. Okay. This is our salary increase plan proposal based on the new funding that we will be receiving in the 2018-2019 fiscal year from the legislature. And I think that staff and cabinet have done an amazing job putting together a plan that both supports our teachers and retaining our teachers, but also recognizes the value of all of our staff in making our classrooms work properly. And so the plan would be to award a 10% increase to teachers, all teachers, not the, it would be all certified teachers, not just the definition of teachers that was in the bill. And then 5% to classified, and then 5% to administrative, but also additional 5 for bus drivers. We've all discussed the need to improve our competition with our neighboring districts in terms of our transportation staff. So is there anything you want to add to that, Dr. Lopman?
I do want to affirm that our package meets the legislative intent of this, of the actually our Arizona legislature. So we are pleased that we can, as you said, grant a raise to every teacher, having to be resourceful in that endeavor because the funds did not necessarily match the need, but we are able to make it work for us in Maricopa. So thank you for engaging in this discussion.
President Noor?
Yes.
I'm very excited that we're able to offer raises for our staff because it's very well deserved, and our teachers deserve way more than 10% in my opinion, but I know that we're under certain constraints. My only concern is that, we're addressing the transportation, the bus drivers with the 10%. Our two highest turnover rates in employee classifications have been bus drivers and paras. And I'm happy that we're addressing the bus drivers. I truly, truly am. But we've not addressed the paras, and I know that there is a divide between our classified and our certified staffs. And I know that the board in the past years have really, when we've given COLAs, we have done it across the board because we did not want to continue that divide. We wanted to unify them. And I understand that we only have so much in our budget and that the state legislature has put us in this position of having to divide our classifications even more. Is there any way possible that we can look at increasing that 5% for classified to 7%? I know we're already going into our reserves to give the teachers the 10%. I would like to see that gap closed a little bit between our classified and our certified. I mean, they deserve it just as much. I mean, the classified at our schools, they're not getting their job. I know that one of the big things that I hear is that at the district office, they reclassify their employees and they give them raises, and that's how they do it at the district office. And that may be true or not true, but at the schools, they're not doing it. If you're a receptionist, you're a receptionist. If you're an administrative assistant, you're an administrative assistant. If you're a cafeteria worker, you're a cafeteria worker. You're not getting reclassified at the school level. And yet, without those people there, the school day wouldn't go on. So I would just, if it's possible, I would just like us to look into that possibility of increasing it so that it is at least a little higher and a little closer.
Thank you, Mrs. Cotray. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Serving on the budget committee, I am excited because the only proposals we could come up with were 2% or 5% based on our past budget. So I want to thank those that respectfully went down to the Capitol and lobbied for themselves. And for us to be able to meet and make it a full 10%, I will say we are one of the rare districts that are able to do that. So that really makes me excited because I did call several of my other board colleagues at other districts. Some of them are only getting a stipend. They're not getting a raise to their base salary. So I want to thank staff, Dr. Lotman, for putting forth all that money for our teachers, our administrators, our transportation, and our classified staff. Now, remember, we probably were only going to be able to give everybody only a 2% across the board to be realistic. And so we also need to remember that on this agenda, our paras are going from part-time to full-time, which will make them eligible for benefits. We also need to realize that hourly wage will be going up every year, so that will be a constant uprise. So I think that to have that 5% now is better than 2%, but we need to take into consideration that our mechanics and our transportation department has been underpaid even more than paras. As you know, all the articles in the newspaper, student safety is a concern, and so we need to make sure that that department is taken care of and brought up to speed. It doesn't mean that our classified staff, they're not left out. They're getting 5% where they would have only gotten 2%, plus they're going to get their hourly because when minimum wage goes up every year. So I understand that it's a great divide or a small divide right now, but I think that it's necessary for us as a district to put the money where it needs to be, and our paras will be going to full-time, so now they'll be eligible for benefits, which they did not have before. So there are other things that we're doing where I don't want us to just look at the 10% and the 5%. I want us to look at overall, we're making the environment better for every single employee in this district, as much as we can as a board. We're not going to be able to go back as it was in '06 and reinstate everything all at one time. It's going to take baby steps. But I think for us as a district, this proposal is a giant step forward. And I, for one, am fully supportive of it, especially since we are putting our paras, our secretaries, they are now full-time. Our secretaries are going probably to a 12-year contract instead of a 10-month. So, I mean, a 12-month. So there's things that we're doing to help those other departments. So, you know, and each year it's going to get better. So I think this proposal is amazing. And I just wanted to point out that as a budget committee, 5% was kind of shooting at the moon. And 2% was, we can manage that as a district. So I'm very grateful that we've been able to, as a administrative staff, come up with, to make the difference up so that we can do a full 5% for everybody, 10% for the teachers. It's more than they had last year, and I know that doesn't say a lot to some people, but we appreciate everybody, and it does take all of us. But I think that being conservative, I was excited about this proposal. So that's my probably 50 cents worth. But being in the budget committee, it was a contentious, not contentious, it was a passionate discussion. So I thank you. I like it.
Mrs.
Thank you,
Anderson,
Mrs.
I don't see anywhere on that schedule, I know that there are a few paras that are going to be put at full-time, but we're not putting all paras at full-time.
No, not all, but we're
putting
getting there.
maybe
It's going to
5.
take, no, it's more than that, but it's going to take baby steps, but I still think that this is a great step.
I think it's a great start.
For us
I
to
really
go
do.
forward.
I think it's a great start. I would just like to take a look at what would be the impact for an additional, if we were going to do a 2% already, or looking at a 2 or 5%, what would be that impact on it? That's all I'm asking, is just to find out what that impact would be, and if it's something that we can maintain. Not all of our employees are at minimum wage. So not all of them are going to continue to get that increase. The ones that are will, we have no choice. But I would just like to see, you know, I would like to see figures. That's all I'm asking, is to look at it. Is it possible? This isn't the entire budget, right? Because we haven't addressed some of the other issues. This is just the increases that the legislature is giving us for the salaries, correct?
It is mostly the increase, or it's partly, the majority of it
Partly, yeah.
is the increase that the legislature has given, but we have also gone into our additional inflation funds and
Title II.
some other funds so that we could expand the teacher definition, so that we weren't,
Yes.
so that it could be the counselors and those folks. So we've already dug deep to make sure all the teachers get the same raise, not just the definition of teacher that was passed by the budget.
And we is you and Dr. Lotman not discussing it as a board?
No,
I mean, I just want to know, is this like the budget, or is this just part of what, like the budget committee, when we got the presentation at the last board meeting, the budget committee presented what their top priorities were, what they found, and kind of the breakdown of it. And so I just want to know, this part is just part of that. We
Yes.
still have the rest of it to deal with.
Yes.
And
This
so,
is not adopting, I just want to be clear, Mrs.
Right,
Cotray.
this is-
We are not adopting a budget.
Right.
This is the
Right.
pay increase proposal so
Correct.
that teachers know what they can expect when they come back in July.
Correct.
Right.
And then we will, at another future meeting next month, adopt a full budget that includes
Okay, some
items
of
from the
those things.
budget.
This,
Correct.
but this
leads
does
me-
take some of that money.
This leads me to raise the question is, I don't have a problem with what Mrs. Coutray is requesting. What's the impact if we do that? However, we have to pass a budget, and I believe, I could be wrong, but it's time sensitive, and do we have the ability to be able to do that?
The
The
budget?
ability to pass a budget?
To
The
be able
budget?
to come back,
Well, yeah, we're not
look
gonna,
at what you're requesting to look at,
yeah.
and then,
Yeah, 'cause
Yes,
next
we-
Well, they
month-
can, that can be, if you're talking, if she just wants to see classified staff looked at, that can be looked at separate from this agenda item. That, you know, we can still
That can
look at
still be-
this.
that can-
Correct.
yeah.
It
Part of
can
the
still
budget
be
cons-
part of a discussion that we have in 2 weeks when we bring the major budget pieces back.
Yeah.
But there will be some give and take. So, you know, but this fits the budget area where we were talking about salaries, and we were talking about COLAs, and we're talking about the money that the legislature and the state approved. We've got to address that first and make sure that that is done, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of the budget.
And so, yes, to Ms. Anderson's point and to Ms. Cotray and Mr. Judd's point, when we come back to discuss the full budget, we can have a discussion on, in the full budget picture, where there's different priorities, would we rather raise classified up another 2%, which could be done, I mean, as long as the funds, you know, or do we want X, Y, and Z, whatever it was that was suggested by the Budget Committee?
So my question, Mrs. Norris, with the salary package that we're looking at right now, how much of that funds would be coming out of that budget discussion that we're going to be having in 2 weeks? Because I know that, you know, it's not totally funded by what the legislator gave us. And we looked at, because we changed, like you said, the classification of teachers, which I am so very happy to see that we're inclusive of all. But,
Aaron, answer that.
Aaron, do you know the answer to that?
It's less, I mean, it's about what we proposed when we did the 2% across the board and the 5% across the board.
Thank you. First of all, I think most all of you had seen kind of the worksheet that we prepared. I'm hoping
Yes.
everybody had a chance to review that. That was a kind of a draft revenue and expenditure worksheet, and that had a lot of those items on there. That was not the full budget. Our anticipated proposed budget will be at our next board meeting, June 27th. We have a lot of time before that. We can look at different scenarios, look at different revenue streams. Sustainability is obviously something we have to think about. Lots of time to do that. Won't take me very much time at all to come up with some of that information for you.
Okay.
So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, and I think sustainability is like a key point, you know, with this. And I understand that some of this projection is from the inflation funds, which if those inflation funds, if our projections may be off for whatever reason, and then we're, you know, approving something extra that's not in this package, then that can create some sustainability issues, correct?
It's always my goal to give a conservative budget to not overestimate revenue streams. So I feel confident that the revenue streams are pretty solid. Now, with that said, the worksheets just came out from the Auditor General and the Arizona Department of Education Finance Department. So we'll be working on those in next coming days. But again, we'll be able to present some different expenditure scenarios to you. So that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Great.
Well, thank you for all the
Mr.
work that I know you have done in the Budget Committee, and also I believe Christine Dickinson's group has also put a lot of value into the information as well. So thank you for everybody that's come up with this plan. So I know it's a great plan and very excited.
Yeah, we We are too. It's a great plan, it's
Yeah,
a great
it
start.
is.
Yes.
We still have work to do.
Well, I wanted to, acknowledge and take a look at what Patty's suggesting. I also want to say that I think that we've come up with a really generous plan for the whole staff. I think a lot of work's gone into it. We've shuffled money to Title II. We've dotted I's, we've crossed T's, and we've come up with a great solution that really makes the majority of our staff, be fulfilled. And hopefully, we can look into some options, as far as the paras go. But I don't want that to be, what tonight is about. Tonight is about
Right.
really the pot of gold at the
The
end of the
celebration.
rainbow for Red for Ed. This is based on their hard work, what they've done in terms of organization, in terms of lobbying, in terms of just coming together as a group, both in Arizona and nationwide. So it should be about that tonight. So, and I think it's a great package. And I thank Dr. Lotman for reaching out, clarifying it, and for working on having us all on board and understanding what this was going to look like.
So if there's any more discussion, I would like to motion that we approve item 7B.
I'll second that.
Personal schedule as written.
No, you're
No
not.
proposed salary
It's not,
increases.
it's the
Or
proposed salary
The
budget.
proposed salary budget.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Nice
Thank you.
job.
We'll move on to item 7B, discussion and possible approval.
President Noor, Mr. Beckett's available. Do you want to go back to 6C? Because we skipped that because
Yeah.
he had to walk out.
Yeah, and he's also B, so we
Okay.
can do both. Yeah.
So, come up to the podium.
We'll start with the discussion and possible approval of the personnel schedule.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to 6C. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, President Noor, members of the governing board, Dr. Lotman. Thank you for your patience. Appreciate your understanding. You have a personnel schedule in front of you tonight. I know there were a number of questions that were fielded from this. I believe answers were provided, but again, if there are specific questions we can address tonight on it, we'd love to do that.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Beckett.
Thank you.
So, breathe, right? Let's breathe. Okay, number 25. Is that necessary? It's a new position. Is that position necessary, and why?
Yes, it is necessary. Again, we have provided some information, I think, to the board in the past about this particular situation. It's more of a compliance concern than really anything. We are shortened our time frame for turning around payroll once we get things put together. In addition to that, we continue to grow staff. Last year we added 50 new people. This year we're going to add probably another 25 staff members to what we have. We just continue to grow that department. And again, with the tight turnaround time on preparing payrolls, it is a critical function. We are proposing that position I believe the job description did outline as a 0.1 FTE. We're going to ask just for a 0.8 at this point in time. So that would be about 32 hours worth of work. Again, it's a clerk level position. We're not talking about a high level specialist in that role. But again, it's some critical tasks that will need to be done. Some, I would say, more administrative skilled things that Mrs. Brown then can pass on to that individual to do. So I have to say yes. Again, we've talked about this in the past that when I first got here, we had 2.5 people doing that job back there with probably 150 less staff members. So I do see this as a critical position.
Okay, thank you. And then number 53, is this before or after the 10%?
Thank you, Member Anderson. Again, this is before the 10%. These 3 behavioral counselors, this actually was part of their ESS Visioning Committee outcome. We had discussed through this. We found out these employees are more closely related to our related service providers, like our occupational therapists or physical therapists. They actually bill for services. They're money generators for the district with the services they provide to them.
in order to bring them up to a level that puts them within that related service provider classification. We believe $5,000 is appropriate for that. It's competitive rate. We believe that that's going to help retain those employees. Again, they provide a critical function for our ESS staff and our most at-risk students. So yes, that would
Okay.
be prior.
Okay, because I know we're always short-staffed when it comes time for ESS
Thank you.
staff.
Yes.
And then one more.
Yes.
Number 4 and number 57 are the same person,
That is
if I'm reading
correct.
it? Okay,
That is correct.
okay. Okay, that's all I'm
Thank
done.
you.
I actually had a question about 53 as well.
All right, thank you.
Do those counselors provide, is it simply behavioral counseling, or do they also provide academic counseling?
No, these are all
Strictly
academic,
behavioral,
yeah.
they have nothing to do with the student's schedule or
No.
moving on to college, or
This
it's
is not
strictly
guidance
behavioral?
counseling. No, this is all
Okay.
behavioral counseling, correct.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes,
on number 23, the full-time substitutes,
thank you.
what would that bring our total to full-time substitutes in our district?
Thank you, Member Coutre. Actually, it would be 10. So we would have one at each of our school sites with 2 at the high school for allocation.
And that was part of the budget proposal as well. I just wanted to share that with the board. So that would be one more budget issue that has been met.
Yeah,
If
we've been
we-
trying to get that from the 2 years ago.
So that there's one at each school, yeah. So, so I just want to put that out there that it seems like we're piecemealing this, but this is just the process. But it is one of those budget issues that we talked about.
Right, and the rationale for full-time substitutes is the issue with providing benefits. And so even if a substitute wants to work full-time, they can't because we can only allow them to work up to a certain amount of hours.
Well, and you're absolutely right, President Noor, if it was 2 years ago, but last year when we moved to smart schools, which I believe is going to be something we're going to be talking about just a little bit, allowed us then to use people for 5 days. But the commitment level that we're asking from these people to be there at that site for 180 days is what really gives us the benefit on these full-time subs. Really full-time guest teachers, as we're trying to call them. They can be counted on every day. They
Consistency.
walk in the door, they know that they're going to have that person
Mhm.
available for
Yeah.
somebody who's possibly going to be out.
Right.
So it's a great benefit, great comfort.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing.
I know,
from our
they've
principals.
all the staff and principals, they said it's nice having somebody that's on site, that knows the students, knows what's going on, can step right into any classroom. So it's a benefit to our students and their student achievement. So I think it's money well invested.
I was going to ask Mr. Beckett on, for line item 20,
Yes,
those new positions, would it be possible, so I haven't seen like what schools those, or do we even know what schools that those specifically will go to? And are those specifically targeted to reduce class size?
thank you, Dr. Miller, great point. In January, I actually go through and do an analysis of all of our school sites, our current enrollment there, and then we do projections based upon our current class caps for elementary and middle school and high school. And so, yeah, the 19 positions you're looking at there are all meant to keep those class sizes below what our targets that we established last May. So yes, and again, we can provide you with the exact locations of each one of those teachers.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
If there's no more questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the HR schedule.
I'll second. Dr. Mary.
I have a motion by Mrs. Cotrea, second by Dr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Now, we're also going to go back to item 6C, which was removed from the consent agenda, which is approve the 2018-19 service agreement with Smart Schools Plus for educational staffing services. I think Ms. Cotrea had a question.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and thank you, President Noor and Mr. Beckett. I know that you very graciously answered my last-minute email regarding this. I just wanted to bring this to the public's attention. We all know that we had issues, and especially a lot of the teachers at the schools, with substitutes the last couple of years since we started going with Smart Schools. And I know that you and I had a conversation early in the year about the issues that we were having with Smart Schools and the possibility of looking at another provider. the whole idea with going with the smart schools, in addition for them taking care of all the new labor laws and the tracking that had to be done, was so that we would have a bigger pool of substitutes to draw from, and that didn't seem to be working. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your reply to me so that the teachers and everybody out in TV land can hear why we're continuing on with smart schools, I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Reverend President Coutray, Member Coutray. Appreciate the email. And again, it is timely. I mean, this was something that we were concerned about at the beginning of the year. We had some issues with tracking, with billing. This was a brand new program for Smart Schools Plus. And I know they were growing pains through this first semester in particular. They've been ironed out. We're very pleased. Things are running very smoothly right now. We have 101 substitutes in our substitute pool, highest number we've ever had. Again, I think we will see less issues of open positions as we move forward. I believe districts made some commitments to try to minimize the amount of professional development happening during the instructional day. The addition of the 3 new substitute teachers, or guest teachers that we have, that you just approved. With 101 people, I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to do a better job of being able to fill those openings as they come next year.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
If nobody else has any discussion, I'd like to motion that we approve the contract with Smart Schools.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now on item 7C, discussion and possible approval of revisions to the stipend and extra duty schedule. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you once again. You have, thank you, President Nora, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Lohman. You have the stipend and extra duty schedule. I believe I highlighted the new items that are on there. And again, these are positive things that I believe are recognizing growth in our music program at the high school in particular. But again, we're just asking for your support on these additional stipends.
Any questions?
No, I'm excited that we can add more opportunities into that stipend because we know our staff is very dedicated. So I was very pleased to see that.
I had questions, but the music department is here and answered all of them for me. So I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. But yeah, other than that, no questions.
I
And
just
if
want to
there's,
ask a quick question. Now, we have a couple items for the no lunch and no prep. Is that for the entire school year or for
Thank you.
perhaps?
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Yes, that is for the whole year. So that stipend is, again, we worked with, that was part of the ESS Visioning Committee work. So it was another one of those things we get to check off that, we committee met, decided on, this is going to be something I think is going to be positive. Again, hopefully you understand the concept. We were paying $3,800 per semester for that. And again, we rationalized it's not really the same overload stipend that we're looking at the high school or at the middle school level. And so once again, the committee came to that consensus. And again, this is on the agenda tonight to recognize both of those options for our ESS teachers that are not getting either a prep period or they're not getting their lunch period because they're supervising kids.
So to that point, and that's a great question, that's what I was going to ask, because I know that typically throughout the year, sometimes we're brought forward with some of these situations with ESS teachers who don't get a lunch or a prep. So this will just be a standard now going forward instead of kind of the
That is correct.
piecemeal before. Okay,
Correct.
great. I love that. Thank you.
We're just hoping
Wonderful.
to get everything taken care of
Yep.
from day one. And so that
Awesome.
everybody knows they're going to get paid for that.
Great.
That's nice.
Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Beckett, when would these stipends be paid for the ESS? I know that, like, for the coaches, that's done by season. For overload stipends, we do that per semester. When would they get their overload or their stipend for the no prep and no lunch?
I believe, and I have to work this out with payroll, but I believe we can work that out, either stagger that over the course of the entire contract period, or we can do payments in like the end of the first semester and the second semester.
maybe give them-
I would like to make sure that we do that. I don't want them waiting the entire year and then getting one stipend at the end of the year, and I am very happy that we are now increasing our stipends. I know that when I was on the committee 2 years ago, to bring this back was a real benefit to a lot of our teachers and our volunteers that that spend their time outside of the classroom taking care of this. So I appreciate all the work that you've done.
Or maybe even give them an option in
Yeah.
terms of when to get it.
I think that's what they'll do, yeah, payroll.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Beckett?
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Beckett.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the revision to the stipend and extra duty schedule.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Anderson and a second by Dr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And the crowd goes wild.
I know, they've been going wild all night. It's wonderful. We are now on item 7D, discussion and possible approval of the first reading of amended board policy IC school year.
Let's see if this gets a round of applause.
Okay, is this also you, Mr. Beckett?
Thank you, I can step and address this. Again, this surfaced at our last governing board meeting when we
Right.
suspended this policy for this past school year. This new policy simply rectifies that by giving us some optional language in there, allows us to use those student hours in lieu of that 180 student calendar.
Mr. Beckett, would we still have to have a board item to determine how we're going to choose the school year, if it's going to be by instructional days or instructional hours? Or does this cover that, and it's up to the staff to make that decision?
I believe, if I understand the question, Member Coutray, we are committed to a 180-day student calendar.
Calendar.
If there is a situation where we would have to consider not having 180 days, this policy would allow us to have options. Again, I think the board could possibly have some say-so if they decide they still want to have 180 days, but this does give us the option of using student hours in lieu of the 180 student days.
So it would still have to be brought before the board? It's not something that, like, because I know that we had to bring it in front of the board, and the board had to suspend the policy. And I thought we were going to write something so that that wouldn't have to come in front of the board again. Or does it always have to come before the board?
It is my understanding we still need to report to the state,
Okay.
and I believe, I'm assuming, maybe Mr. Roush would know this better than I do, that I believe governing board action
Okay,
would be required for that report
okay.
to be valid.
That's all I wanted. I was trying to make it easy.
Because currently, haven't we already adopted 180-day, because we've already adopted the school calendars for the next 3 years?
Yeah.
That is-
So that's set.
It is.
Okay.
Thank you.
And quick question, was this already run past the attorneys so we can do this?
We actually
Okay.
received legal counsel
Okay.
on this before we put it in form.
Cool.
So
Um,
we'll need a
and-
approval for
yes, we need a
IC
motion.
school. All that stated, I would like to motion that we approve IC school year as amended.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Dr. Miller, a second by Mrs. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are now on item 7E, discussion and possible approval of the first reading of amended governing board policy JFABB, admission of exchange and foreign students.
And I'm on a roll. I can go ahead and take this one as well.
Yay.
All right. You have in front of you a revision that we're recommending. Each year, we get requests for foreign exchange students, and our past policy has been 500 students. I'm not sure it was always adhered to, and again, we're just trying to be sensitive. We have made some commitments to students already this year. We feel it's the right thing to do. As you can see from the other schools that are mentioned there on the cover page, there are other districts that have this 250 to 350 student limit or window for allowing a foreign exchange student. And we feel like this is a reasonable total, and it does fit within the kind of commitments that we've already made for this next school year for these foreign exchange students. They offer a unique, diverse experience for not only for themselves but also for our kids. So I know that the high school has really enjoyed having these students. Many of them are outstanding students, very sociable, and do very, very well. I can tell you from past experience, when I was teaching, I always loved when I got mail from Germany or from Brazil because I was a soccer coach. And so it was always a highlight whenever I would see those people coming through the door.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. And I concur. I think that allowing foreign exchange students into our schools, we should welcome that and not limit it. If they want to come here and be here and partake in MUSD and give that experience and receive that experience, that we should open our doors to that. Are there any other questions?
I had two questions. Go ahead, Mrs. Coutray.
Well, Mr. Beckett, how many foreign exchange students did we have last year? Was it 6?
There were 8 walked across the stage.
Yeah.
Was there 8?
Yeah.
It's graduation.
It's almost as many as this year.
And
Yeah.
I had heard
Or as many.
12 at one point in time, but again, I know that we had much higher than 1 for 500.
Yeah.
And do we know how many we already have committed for next year?
I believe we have 10.
We have 10. Okay.
Mm.
So it'll cut, essentially cut
Thank
it
you.
in half. And the question is, do we want to do?
So the two questions I had was, one is how does this benefit our high school? You kind of answered that, unless there's anything else you want to add. The second question is financially, can we support that?
That's a great question. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Because I like to shop. I mean, it's all about the money.
I know, we do not get ADM for these students because they're not
Right.
Arizona residents. But again, I think we're looking at the big picture here of what benefit they bring to us and what we're doing here. And again, I think it's a positive thing for our kids and for our programs. I think the cost outweighs the benefit in this particular situation.
But we won't bump a MUSD student for a foreign exchange student.
No,
Okay.
I believe that's one of the reasons why we're asking for this ratio to be
Okay.
effect. We don't want to be having 30
Right.
students come in.
Okay.
Make it a burden.
And
Thanks
so
for
if they
the
all come in
clarification.
from Brazil, we know something's going on.
Yeah. We better win the soccer championship.
Now, I will say, we are still in touch with a foreign exchange student from Brazil from when Kelly was in high school. And so her children have since come back and stayed with us.
Right.
So it's,
Amazing.
the program can be so enriching for not just our students, but the entire community. So it's been incredible.
I'd like to motion that we approve the amended policy JFABB.
I'll second the motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mrs. Coutray, a second by Dr. Miller to approve the policy JFABB. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Should get you a chair next meeting. We are now on to item 8, adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn unless there's any objections.
I will second that.
I have a motion by Dr. Miller, a second by Mrs. Anderson to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. It is 7:33 p.m.